All right. We say we rock and roll here, Adam. Nice little 4-gamer on a Tuesday night. How you feeling, guy?
Feeling pretty good. Had some internet issues throughout the day today, so hopefully
That's
those are in the
weird.
past. Yeah,
That's
it's really,
weird.
really unusual.
Yeah. I'm just, yeah, it's just so strange that would happen.
But
Ever.
no, I mean like way more than usual. I think I lost internet 4 times within like an hour and a half span. So hopefully we're good to go.
All right. Let's do it then. You know what the thing is? Hold on. Someone said I'm lagging. Let me fix. Am I lagging? I shouldn't be.
Sound fine to me.
Yeah, I thought so. I'm on the right internet. It happened this morning where, dude, it switches me to the bad internet, like out of nowhere. And and I hate it for that. But I'm good now, so let's do it. But anyway, this is the Deeper Dive presented by awesomemode.com. We're glad to have you with us. We are thank you, Bathrobe Basement Music. He says, no, you are not lagging. So I appreciate it. Glad to have you with us. It's an interesting slate for sure, but we're still waiting on injury news that on a normal slate would probably not be as pertinent. But, you know, JaVale McGee, Alan Crabb, Hernan Gomez, these are things that we'll certainly have to wait on. To get it out of the way early, Trevor Ariza is starting for Washington. Aside from that, just the regulars, you know, Rondo Ingram's still out. Dennis Smith Jr. is ruled out. You know, if he played, he was minimum salary on Yahoo. I tweeted today, I think you saw it, that on Yahoo, the guys that are minimum salary, just a few, just naming a few, Dennis Smith Jr., Mason Plumlee, Alec Burks, Rodney Hood, Chetty Osman, Corey Joseph, Alan Crabb, Joe Harris, Lance Stevenson, Jeff Green, Thomas Satoransky, DeAndre Bembry, Kevin Herter, and Monty Morris. Like that. Oh, and Dwayne Dedman is $1 above it. So I don't know what to say, man.
Yeah, I saw you throw Dennis Smith Jr. in there like wishful thinking, even though he pretty clearly wasn't going to play.
But if he did, it's
oh,
still
yeah.
look. They still called him a game time decision. Like it still wasn't 0% chance, which means there's still 0% chance he should be minimum salary. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no question.
Oh God! All right, let's jump into it. Cleveland, Indiana. This is the only game with an actual significant spread, right? Everything else is 4.5 or 5 points, depending on where you're looking, or less. But the Pacers at home with Oladipo back in the mix and healthy are 11.5-point favorites. A really ugly 207.5 total here. Let's start with the Pacers. You know, Tyreek Evans questionable, obviously, but is there anything here that stands out to you as a priority play for Indiana?
Victor Oladipo. He's really the only thing that stands out from Indiana for me. But if this game does stay competitive and you can get 36 minutes out of Oladipo, you know, it's a really slow paced game in general, and Cleveland's playing at the slowest pace in the league. But they've also been the worst defense in the league over the last month, and one of the worst defenses in the league overall. For the season, you have over a 30% usage rate for Oladipo, averaging nearly 1.3 fantasy points per minute. I think that, you know, on this 4-gamer, his price tag is pretty appealing, especially on DraftKings, but even on FanDuel, where you have to roster the 2 shooting guards, I do really like Oladipo a lot.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I feel like site dependency is big on this one, where he's so if on the slate, you know, you have LeBron, John Wall, Jokic, and then Oladipo on DraftKings, and then on FanDuel you've got LeBron, Jokic, Wall, and then of course Oladipo. Pricing spread out a little bit. But I guess my question, and we're not going to get there yet, I don't want to jump around too much, but with Beal being $600 discounted on DraftKings and $1,300 cheaper on FanDuel, does that not sway you at all, or do you still like Oladipo a lot here?
There's a reasonable chance I end up with 100% Brad Beal on FanDuel. So
okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I like Beal's price more than Oladipo's, but I'm still getting a lot of Oladipo just because I haven't projected for 50 plus fantasy points if this game stays close.
Right. All right. I was just wanted to make sure so we don't get any confusion here, you know. Ponytail Miles Turner is playing pretty well right now. A silly haircut that is, you know, almost as silly as my own, except I don't have a nickname for it. He has played pretty well though, and now he's got a home matchup with Cleveland, who is without Tristan Thompson. Any thoughts on this front court here, whether it be Miles Turner, Thaddeus Young here has played surprisingly well of late. Thad Young, when Thad Young starts playing well and his price comes up, is precisely the time where he will stop playing well. I'm just throwing it out there. He does that quite frequently, but Usage is up, and he's playing a strong basketball right now. And then, of course, you have Domantas Sabonis, who has kind of been all over the map. Minutes have been all over the map. And this team, the concern I have before I throw it back to you, Adam, Indiana has just been notorious this season for being involved in blowouts, whether it be one way or the other. And this does feel like one of those games. Again, not huge in the business of predicting blowouts, but this certainly feels like a game that could get out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's certainly some risk here, but the bigger issue for me than that is that with these other guys, you're still talking about elevated price tags. You alluded to it on Thad Young, and I agree entirely. He's put together some really good games lately, but it's not like this is a guy in his second or third year in the NBA. We know what Thad Young is. We know the type of player he is. We know what he does, and he's going to go through stretches like this every season where he's really really good. But it's not like a whole lot changes over the long term. So as soon as this price tag starts coming up, I tend to run the other direction, and that'll be the case here. If he has a good game, he has a good game, but it's pretty difficult to project him as a particularly appealing option. And for Miles Turner, kind of the same thing. He's shooting really well right now, but the price tag has come up to account for it. And Oladipo being back, while it doesn't make a big difference in terms of usage for Turner, it does, I think, make it a little less likely he actually gets to his ceiling, just because Oladipo is one more guy that can take over a game offensively, and he'll do so more often than Turner does. So the price tags on these guys are just I think really unappealing outside of Oladipo.
Agreed. Hey, some quick news here, as hopefully things will start to roll in a little bit quicker here. JaVale McGee has been ruled out of this game. So not this game, sorry, on this slate. So the game we'll get to next. JaVale McGee is out for the LA Lakers. We'll get to that in the very next game. But first, let's keep going. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about here on Indiana, we can flip to Cleveland.
There is not.
All right. As I mentioned, honestly, because we have been talking a bit of Yahoo recently, just because the overlay is kind of absurd, and they have the other. I didn't get in time. It filled. I really didn't think it was going to fill. Stupid me, I guess. But they have the 100K or the 100K $25,000 guaranteed overlay, 10K to first baller today. So 25K overlay, which is why I was actually inspecting these Yahoo prices, and it's like literally every guard or small forward. Not everyone. It's a bit of hyperbolic, but like Alec Burks, minimum salary. Rodney Hood, minimum salary. Chetty Osman, minimum salary. Over there, it makes things ridiculous. And now we know that Drew might put Nwaba in the starting lineup over who is it? Alec Burks. So this definitely makes things interesting. Their price is definitely more reasonable on FanDuel and DraftKings. And by the way, if you did want to sign up and you haven't played on Yahoo yet, when you sign up, use the code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, and you'll get a $30 deposit bonus on any deposit over $30 or more. So if you wanted to get in these overlay contests, sign up with using AWESEMO when you do, and you'll get $30 deposit bonus, which is pretty nice. And you don't really have to do anything except type one strange word, which is AWESEMO. All right. You like how I mixed that in there? They're pretty fluent, man, on the read game. What about Cleveland though? Where they're actually reasonably priced? Because I don't even want to talk about it over there. It's just crazy.
Yeah, excluding Yahoo, where they're all free.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot that's really appealing here. It's a good Indiana defense. It's a slow paced team, not as slow as Cleveland, but still a slow paced team. And it's just a bunch of guys who aren't very good. But on top of that, you have Cleveland now at basically full strength running. They used 11 guys in their last game. You had Channing Frye get some minutes. You had Ante Zizic get the start at center. It's just a mess right now in trying to figure out where these minutes come from. And outside of Larry Nance and Jordan Clarkson, and to an extent Colin Sexton, none of these guys are great per minute producers. So
right.
The fact that their minutes are all over the place and are going to be all over the place based on how a game is going makes it really, really scary to get to them. I don't have an issue with Larry Nance in tournaments. His price tags come up enough where he's not, the slam dunk cash play that he was before, especially because, we saw him get 26 minutes last game. And for whatever reason, Larry Drew and the Cavs hate this guy. They would rather play Channing Frye than Larry Nance. I don't know the reason, but it happens, and it makes him, pretty scary to roster. Jordan Clarkson got a bunch of minutes last game, and he's been playing well in general, but it's worth keeping in mind that Rodney Hood picked up 2 fouls in the first like 2 minutes of that game, which led to extended run for Jordan Clarkson. I have no confidence that he actually gets over 30 minutes if everyone stays out of foul trouble here. So it's really tough for me to, have anything other than, just some mild tournament interest in these guys.
Yeah, me too. I'm pretty much on the same spot. Again, on Yahoo, it's different because they're basically free. So if they start, you can definitely like I will have some of them because they're free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes too much sense. By the way, appreciate that, Dave Gaden. Much love, bruh. And Josh Gordon says, Laffy, you may get your Zubats, sorry, wish. That'd be awesome. I mean, look, it's tough. We'll get to that. They still have some bodies at the 5,
I'll
but
say, is Steven still actually on that team?
oh yeah, dude, he's been
Like, I
playing
mean, I
every
know he
night.
is, but
He's been playing every night.
what, the blowouts?
Zubats? I'm saying he's getting minutes. Well, not every night, but he's played the last 2 games, both of which were washes. But I'm saying, yes, he's still on the
Yeah,
team. He's
yeah.
on the
He's not
active.
in the rotation though.
No, he's on the active roster, but he's
Yeah.
not in the active rotation. But with McGee out, who knows? Yeah, that was obviously wishful thinking because I think if there was one guy that if he played 20 plus minutes in the center rotation that could give me decent numbers, I would take him over Tyson Chandler uh, or Wagner. That's just where I'm at. So, not that it will matter. Do you want to move on to the next game? Is there anyone else for Cleveland?
Yeah, please, can we stop talking about Cleveland?
Yeah, dude. This game in general is one that I really don't have much interest in. Let's talk about Brooklyn though, and the Lakers. You got ourselves a game that we expect to stay close, no question. Lakers are only 2-point favorites now, according to Pinnacle. 227.5 total. So we should get a close game, closely contested, high scoring game. Anything can happen, of course, but for all intents and purposes, Brooklyn's playing good enough basketball to stay competitive and even beat good teams. Hell, they're coming off wins against Washington doesn't count, but Philadelphia, Toronto. Dude, they've won 5 straight games. Like they're playing good basketball, regardless of matchup. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win this one at home today. So let's start with Brooklyn. The pricing is different though on some spots. Like Dinwiddie 76 on DraftKings, Russell 8,100. Both of them, even though I've loved Dinwiddie at that mid 6K price point, that's a tough one to swallow. On FanDuel, Dinwiddie point guard eligible 7,100. Russell only shooting guard eligible 7,300. So I'd say let's keep it in context with sites here when we get into this Brooklyn backcourt.
Yeah, very, very different depending on what site you're talking about. On DraftKings, I think both of the guards, Dinwiddie and Russell, are essentially just tournament options. Like they clearly have upside at their prices. Russell's the more volatile of the two in terms of minutes, but also in terms of just actual ceiling. So I prefer taking the risk. If I have to take one of them in tournaments, I would lean toward Russell, even though he's a little bit more expensive and he's clearly overpriced for his median projection, just because he's the one that is more likely to go give you 50 plus fantasy points. But on FanDuel, they're both really reasonably priced, to the point where I think that they're more likely to end up in large percentages of my lineups. And you can go to either one there. I mean, Dinwiddie should play around 32 minutes here. Russell, we've seen his minutes fluctuate anywhere from the mid 20s to the mid 30s, kind of depending on how the game is going and how he is playing. But obviously leads the team in usage rate, leads the team in assist percentage. Facing the Lakers, it's not a great matchup in terms of the Lakers have actually been very good defensively. Lonzo Ball is a good individual defender, but still a pace-up game for Brooklyn and a guy in Russell who probably will not be afraid to chuck up shots here. So, nothing more than tournament options on DraftKings at those prices. On FanDuel, obviously more appealing and easier to get to both of those guys.
Right. Yeah. Draft. I like 8,100 for Russell on DraftKings is tough for me because it's not that it's an egregious price point. And on a 4-game slate, I don't mind taking some risks. Like the dude clearly has plenty high ceiling, right? But he's also somebody that even in close games, like if Dinwiddie's playing really well, we know that they'll get run together, but Dinwiddie can take some minutes away from Russell, and we've seen it happen. He's played 22, 28, and 30 minutes or 29 minutes over his last 3 games, while Dinwiddie's played 30, 32, and 24 over his last 3. And predictably, the one where he played fewer minutes is the game where he played poor, or not poorly, but significantly worse than the other games. What's interesting to me here is you have these guys at this price, but then if you were to go, you look at DraftKings, you've got Lonzo at 65, uh, and I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm willing to make exceptions, and I will play him in good spots, of course, as much shit as I talk on him. Jamal Murray at 66, Trey Young at 64. It's not like these guys are your only options at the guard position. And then you have Depot at 91 and Brad Beal at 85, even Doncic with Smith out at 77. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you put it in context, neither of them put it this way, even though both have nice upside. On DraftKings, if I'm playing one of them, it's going to be Russell. And on FanDuel, I don't know. I guess Russell too.
yeah. On FanDuel, I think it depends on what you're playing. Like I'd rather play Dinwiddie in cash games. I'd rather play Russell in tournaments. So I'm only playing one.
Yeah, I have no faith at all in Russell in tournament or in cash, like
Right.
none whatsoever.
Well, and he's also a shooting guard, which, as you mentioned, is actually a deeper position on FanDuel today than point guard is.
Right, exactly. Like, would you I mentioned this to Josh on the strategy show earlier today. With Dennis Smith out, like Doncic is just a significantly better cash play than Russell at a $300 markup. It's not even close, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, he's always a better cash play than Russell just because he's so
Right.
much less volatile.
Right, but now he's
Right.
getting more point guard responsibility, more ball handling, and you've seen his assist rates increase as a result with Smith out. So, of course, we'll get there. But talking about the rest of this Brooklyn team, aside from Dinwiddie and Russell, you have guys like Joe Harris, who, by the way, minimum salary on Yahoo, and which to me, I know Joe Harris is not a household name, but from a fantasy point standpoint, he has like if Joe Harris was 3K on DraftKings, I'm not joking when I say I'd probably play him every night, Adam, at minimum salary on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that makes his way. If I'm max entering, he makes his way into some of my lineups at 45 or 4600 every night.
Exactly. Exactly. So at 3K, it'd be a totally different story. Alan Crabb is still questionable, so we'll wait to see what's going on here. Tyreek Evans is playing, by the way, just so everyone's aware. He will try to play. Not sure that news is all that important, but with the Alan Crabb news still pending, I guess it throws a wrench into things. You've got guys like Rodion Kurucs, you've got Joe Harris, you've got Damari Carroll, all of them pretty cheap, Adam. So how are you looking at the wings here, shooting guard and small forward for the Nets?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a lot depends on Crab in terms of just how the rotation is going to go. But if Crab is out, then Damari Carroll, I think, should play 26 to 28 minutes here in a nice spot as far as pace goes against the Lakers. And he's near minimum price on both DraftKings and FanDuel, which makes him really appealing, especially on FanDuel where small forward is even thinner than normal because Trevor Ariza is not in the player pool. And uh, the entire position basically is hurt. So it makes Carroll really appealing if Crab is out. Also, you mentioned Kurucs, who's been starting and playing pretty well. Should get around 28 to 30 minutes here. I've been projected for just shy of a 20% usage rate, and he's still cheap enough where I think he ends up being one of the better values on the slate. If Crab sits, if Crab plays, then it takes minutes away from both of those guys. Crab isn't someone that I'd be particularly interested in either, so it would make the entire situation just unappealing.
Yeah, Kurucs is playing well enough to where he's cheap enough to not have an issue with here. Joe Harris is a guy that I would expect to see big minutes either way. He always sees pretty solid minutes, solidified probably if Crab is out, but still, all of these. How many of these guys do you think are contingent upon Crab being in or out, whether or not they're viable?
Yeah, Carroll,
Kurucs.
yeah, him, and obviously Crab. Like Harris, I think gets his 32 to 34 minutes regardless.
So that's right. That's what I'm saying. So he's now again 4,900 on DraftKings, shooting guard, small forward. What is he? 49 on FanDuel, small forward. Not terrible price points, but obviously at minimum salary on Yahoo, it's a little bit different. And then we'll work our way to the front court here. What do you make of Jared Allen? Kind of has stumbled in a few recent games. You've seen the minute totals through the floor against the Sixers and against Atlanta. I think one of those was a bit of foul trouble, but it's been a bit of a struggle here. He couldn't even really exploit a great matchup with Washington, but he is $5,500 on DraftKings. He is 6K flat on FanDuel. And you want to talk about a wild haircut? Jared Allen's rocking it, dude. I am I am on board with that Jared Allen haircut. Where are you at on him?
Looks like he's nowhere right now.
Tell me he dropped. Did he drop?
You
I'm
back?
back. I don't.
And he's not back, is he?
No, now he's like really, really gone. Oh, oh, oh! Here we go. Here we go. Welcome back.
We're gonna try and hang around this time.
Yeah, I don't really know what it's doing, but I think I'm good.
Where'd I cut off? Where did you cut off?
You're going into Jared Allen.
Yeah, he struggled lately. His minutes have come down, but he's cheap. Ed Davis, on the other hand, has played in the 2 games where Allen played 15 and 16 minutes. Davis played 30 and 28. What do you make of this center rotation right now?
I want one of them in a lot of my lineups. Obviously leaning towards Jared Allen since he should have the first opportunity to play well. But one thing I mentioned in the deep dive article today is that normally, even on slates where I like Jared Allen, it's tough to actually get him in the lineups because there's so much opportunity cost at this position every single night. Not really the case tonight, especially with JaVale McGee being ruled out as well. There's just not high end centers on this slate, and it makes it easier to get to McGee, especially when you have guys at the guard positions and you have LeBron that you want to pay up for. Saving money at this position for Jared Allen, is pretty appealing. So certainly risk that comes with him, but I think the price tag factors that in, and I like him quite a bit. If you're playing a bunch of tournament lineups, then by all means, run some projections where Allen's in foul trouble or Allen's not playing well and Ed Davis gets all the minutes because, Davis is the kind of guy that will win you a tournament if he runs into 26 or 28 minutes.
Right. I'm with you. And Davis is one of those guys. I mean, earlier this year when Allen was out, I think I played him in 3 straight, 2 or 3, however many games there were. Like, there was no doubt I was playing Ed Davis because he can just put up really solid numbers. He can give you those low end double doubles that are perfect, that are great at this price point. Davis is produced, I think 1.1 fantasy points per minute on the year. I like Ed Davis, man. He's not a great player by any means, but if Ed Davis gets extended minutes at 3,600, that's a totally different story. If you told me Ed Davis was going to play, I put it this way, if you told me, Adam, that Ed Davis was locked into 25 minutes tonight, right? No more, no less, but he's playing 25 minutes. At 3,600, you better believe I would have a whole lot of him. Just to kind of give you an idea of where I'm at on him in a broad range. 25 minutes of Ed Davis would be more than enough for me to play him at that price point.
Yeah, no question.
All right. At 41 on FanDuel, by the way, and he's power forward eligible. So keep that in mind. That definitely has some appeal. What about Rondé Hollis Jefferson? Saz Crib had a question in our Slack chat. He said, where is it? Where are we? Do we get Hollis Jefferson at center if Kuzma gets minutes at the 5?
You could, but I don't think it's necessarily a guarantee because it's not like Ed Davis can't just hang out or Allen. I mean, I don't think either of them necessarily get played off the floor. So it's something that certainly could happen, but we just haven't seen Kenny Atkinson be that interested in playing Hollis Jefferson at center so far. So I'm not really confident that it happens, all that often.
Yeah, and before the league changed all that much, Ed Davis was more of a 4 than a 5 anyway. Like him and Amir Johnson were guys that you played a lot at the 4. Davis isn't that big of a guy. He's not a traditional center in terms of build. So I don't know. It's possible, but I don't know if it'd be necessary. Do you have any interest in Hollis? Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say if you like Hollis Jefferson and you're trying to convince yourself of like another like out that you have for him to have a productive game, by all means give him some minutes at center because it's possible. But if you're trying to decide if you like Hollis Jefferson or not, like you're on the fence, I don't think that he necessarily has to get minutes at center, even if Kuzma does.
Right. And by the way, you hear about the Slack chat that we have. If you want to check it out and you want to check out all of our stuff for free for a week, just use the promo code Deeper Dive. It's all one word. You'll see it at the bottom right of the screen. You go onto the homepage, click join now, pick your plan. Make sure to include Fantasy Cruncher when you do it, though, so you can get everything. You'll get all of our tools and articles and Slack chat. You'll be able to check everything out for a week for free. Just use Deeper Dive. You'll put it in all one word when you check out at the end of it, and it'll prompt you, and you'll get it all for free for a week, no risk at all. So you can check all that out. We hope to see you there. But let's flip to the Lakers here. We've got LeBron James. We've got Lonzo Ball. Lance Stevenson down there siphoning minutes away from Josh Hart, who is just, supremely ineffective. We've seen his minutes literally go down in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, in 5 straight games, from 36 to 35 to 29 to 26 to 20. I know we've got some blowouts there. Not sure how much that has to do with it. Maybe it has a lot to do with it. I'm assuming it has a decent amount, but it's not like he's been good either, and I don't really have much interest in him, even if this game stays close. Let's start with the backcourt, work our way all the way up. Where are we at on Lonzo Ball here?
Yeah, Lonzo, more of a tournament play than a cash play for me on this particular slate. FanDuel, I guess.
Alan Crabb ruled out, Adam.
Good. I don't have to change anything.
All right, just wanted to make sure we got that news in there. Yeah, he is out.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, for Lonzo, talking cash games, I don't see getting there on DraftKings. The price tag, is up to 6,500, and you can roster some of the shooting guards at point guard as well. On FanDuel, I think more appealing just because the position's so bad, but I'd still rather try and find the money for Spencer Dinwiddie just because he's a less volatile player than Lonzo. But in tournaments, I think that he's still a good play here. It's still not a bad matchup against Brooklyn. It's a spot where, he could easily go flirt with a triple-double if he plays well and gets his 34 to 36 minutes. And it's just not a very high upside position today. So I have interest in him in tournaments for sure. It's just that as far as, a median projection, he's kind of a mediocre play to me.
All right. Yeah, I have him below a couple of the other guards that are similarly priced. I don't have an issue with Lonzo. I think he's a fine play here against Brooklyn. But I also think in terms of just median output, you're getting like 33 to 36. You say something?
I agreed.
Oh, yeah. And once in a while you'll get that big triple double with the 5 steals, but that's definitely the exception to the rule and not something I expect to come along every game. The one good thing about Lonzo is the consistent playing time. You're locked into 34, 35, 37 minutes, whereas somebody like Trae Young runs real risk of losing those minutes to a Jeremy Lin or such. But we'll get to him. We'll get to him in a minute. I can't imagine like Tyler Dorsey being out is really going to put a dent into the risk there, but we'll get there. So I with Lonzo, yeah, it's a tournament play, but I don't really have intention of playing cash anyway here. So who cares, right? It's how much Lonzo, have you run any crunches?
I ran like a dummy FanDuel crunch right before the show. I haven't done DraftKings yet. On FanDuel, I got, let's see, he hit 40% on FanDuel in my initial.
What do you have? How many fantasy points do you have projected for?
Like 32 or 33.
Okay. So, if he hit 40%, the reason I ask is because I haven't projected for 32, but I have Jamal Murray ahead of him, and I believe I have Trae Young ahead of him, which could end up poorly. But that's one of the reasons why I didn't get as much Lonzo as I would have initially suspected, because he's really in. And now by the way, you're talking about FanDuel and not DraftKings, right?
Right. Yeah. And I also did I didn't do my crunch by projected points. I did it by percentage of the time I think he reaches my target score in tournaments. And because of how volatile he is, he's when I do it that way, he's projected a lot higher than guys like Murray or Trae Young.
What do you have? What percent of the time do you have him hitting his target score in tournaments?
On FanDuel, about 11%.
11%. Do you have the numbers pulled up for the other guys?
5% on Trae Young. So, and obviously it factors in how many minutes I have them projected for and everything because it's based on my projection. But Trae Young at 5% in 30 minutes and Jamal Murray at 5% in 38 minutes.
Okay, so basically doubling both of them in terms of that. That's why you're getting a bunch.
On FanDuel.
On FanDuel, correct. Well, that makes sense. Let's talk about LeBron James. He is facing the Brooklyn Nets. Not a very good defense, but a team that is playing better defensively and offensively. They should keep this game competitive. LeBron coming off a miserable game in that blowout loss to Washington. What are we doing with LeBron here?
Playing a lot of him, especially on DraftKings, and Yahoo where everyone's free. But DraftKings at only like 10,600, really difficult, not to like him because there are enough underpriced guys on DraftKings where it shouldn't be that hard to get up to him. And it's just really difficult for him to fail in this spot at a sub $11,000 price tag. He's got about a 35% usage rate and almost a 40% assist percentage since without Brandon Ingram on the floor this month. He's averaging about 1.4 DraftKings points per minute. He should play 36 to 38 minutes in this game, assuming that it stays close. So really difficult not to like him. And on FanDuel, it's not as appealing of a price tag, but it's also just an even worse position. So right now I only got him in like 15 to 20% of that FanDuel crunch, but that's something that I'll be playing around with after the show because I need more LeBron than that just because of the raw points.
Yeah, okay. I get it. Ted Lemoyne says, I'm already making lineups for tomorrow with Anthony Davis, but with Anthony Davis because Mirotic and Randall are out. I mean, not the worst idea. I haven't looked at tomorrow's slate yet. We still got this one to get through, but that should be an interesting one for sure. And we'll be here on the deeper dive when we talk about it. Other than LeBron, and I'm going to have a lot of LeBron. I am playing in that overlay contest on Yahoo, and I'm going to play a lot of LeBron, probably in every lineup because it's so easy to do it. Like I don't even know why I wouldn't, because I can play him, Wall, and Beal, or him, Wall, and Jokic, or him, Wall, and this guy in every single lineup if I want to. It's silly, it's insane, but I don't care. I'm doing it anyway. So LeBron to me is a great play across the board, though, especially on a slate like this. And he's not egregiously overpriced anywhere. And it's Brooklyn, and it's a high-scoring game, and it should be close. It's pretty much the formula for a good LeBron game should be here. We just got news, by the way, that I'm super glad that it's after we talk about the only game we've talked about. Jordan Clarkson is out. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess more potential minutes for a lot of guys, but my guess would be better for Alec Burks. Definitely better for Alec Burks. A little bit better for Colin Sexton, and then Matthew Dellavedova can pick up some minutes that he does nothing with.
Yep. So last game when Hood got in early foul trouble, Clarkson subbed in and played the entire quarter. I don't know how much you want to read into that, but Rodney Hood got in foul trouble after 1 minute and 13 seconds. Clarkson subbed in for him, and he played 14 straight minutes. So I don't looking at this, and then Hood subbed back in for him. But the thing is, they will play some minutes together. My thing too, though, Adam, is Dellavedova's in the lineup now too. Yep. And I think he's probably going to get between 22 and 24 minutes each night.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it probably for the most part just spreads the minutes out amongst a bunch of guys. I already had Hood at 34 minutes and Clarkson at 24 because of that foul trouble. So like I can't go much higher on Hood. I can give a few more minutes to Burks and get him up around 30. I can give a few to Dellavedova. I can give a few to Nwaba. Maybe Jalen Jones gets in the rotation.
Well, the biggest problem is, just to kind of further throw a wrench into this, is that you see Drew talking about, oh yeah, I might be starting Nwaba over Burks anyway. So we already don't know what that does with the minutes.
Right. But so the thing to point out is that with the guys the Cavs have, not only are they looking or are they running deep rotations, but they have so many guys that can play, 2 through 4 that it's not as easy as just, plugging someone in for Jordan Clarkson because, he's playing multiple positions and everyone else can slide up and down. So it's pretty unlikely that there's like a huge beneficiary here.
This team has no direct replacements, which makes
it exactly.
Larry Nance is starting at center too.
Oh, good.
Over Djidzic.
Yeah.
Any interest?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, maybe that gives him a couple of extra minutes because the concern for me was just that they hadn't really shown any interest in playing him a bunch of minutes unless they have to. And I was afraid that, Djidzic and Fry would steal more minutes than they should. But if he's going to start, then it's more likely he gets into that 34 to 36 minute range.
I like Nance a lot more now.
Yep.
He lost those. Yeah, I like Nance a lot more now. So he's definitely in play here. 6K on DraftKings now that he's in the starting lineup. 7K on FanDuel. Power forward eligible. I don't have a problem shying away from that. I'm not huge at that price point, but it's also not the deepest position. Anything else on the Lakers that you want to talk about? We obviously should discuss this front court here. And if you want to, we've got about 23 minutes. So if there's anything on Hart or Stevenson or Kuzma, or anyway, get to that first, and then we'll close it out with the important topic with JaVale McGee being ruled out.
Yeah, I mean, Kuzma, I think, is perfectly fine. He's got the second highest usage rate on the team over the last month, playing, 36 minutes a night, 36 plus minutes a night in most games. Certainly that the opportunity to play a few minutes at center now with McGee ruled out, so that makes him a little bit, more productive as well. I like Kuzma a lot, and then Tyson Chandler obviously should get the start here. Probably plays around 28 minutes, which at a near minimum price tag at a position that isn't as deep as normal, I think makes him a perfectly fine value option. And DraftKings in particular, I'm not sure what position he is on FanDuel. I don't have it in front of me, but Mo Wagner has power forward eligibility at the flat minimum on DraftKings. If he just gets 16 to 18 minutes here, he can give you a good enough game.
Yeah, man, this center spot is so there's no JaVale McGee, right? But his minutes had been down anyway, or at least super volatile 24, 22, 15, 30, 18. And the blowouts are, again, making things difficult. Ever since Tyson Chandler came around, he was taking minutes away as we expected. And his minutes have been up and down, but I'd say we can put him around the 20-minute average or so. And then you have Wagner, who is in and out of the rotation, much like someone like Zubats. So if you were to give minute projections for this front court tonight, who would it be? And I guess, well, yeah, those are the only guys that we really expect, unless we think Kuzma is going to soak up a bunch of run at the 5. So what do you see here? In terms
I gave Chandler 28 center minutes. I gave Wagner 16, and then I gave Kuzma the additional 4.
Wow, so you have Chandler at 28 minutes.
Yeah, he played. So in the game against Washington, he played 14 first half minutes, played his first stint of the third quarter, and then it was like a 30-point game. He just never came back.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good to me. I have him at 25 minutes. How much interest do you have in him?
Pretty decent amount. I mean, the position's not that strong. He's obviously easier to get to on DraftKings or even Yahoo because you can roster 2 centers.
Right.
But yeah, it's normally I don't like punting center all that much, but there's just outside of Jokic, there's not really that top end tier on this slate, so it's a much more appealing spot to punt. And then you can get your LeBrons, you can get Oladipo, you can get Beal. It opens up a lot for you.
Right, and outside of Yahoo, where he's $11, Dwayne Dedman isn't dirt cheap either anymore.
Right.
So yeah, there's that. But I agree, JaVale McGee definitely makes the most sense here. So pretty much that's what I've got. Thanks, SJM. Appreciate that, pal. All right, let's talk about Washington and Atlanta. We've got another game that we expect to see plenty of scoring. 237.5 point total here. That's sexy, man. Wizards 2.5 point road favorites against the dreadful Hawks. 3 points now. Now that I refresh it, we'll start with Atlanta. John Collins has been a stud. This kid looks awesome. He's getting better and better. His usage continues to climb. He's attempted 17, 20, 22, 8. And that was a rough one against Boston. Still had a double-double and 19 shots over his last 5 games. Not only that, though, but you're looking at a dude that is averaging a 20-plus point, 10-plus rebound double-double, or 20-10-plus double-double since like the start of December. He's been crushing it. I'm loving what we're getting from him. I love that almost all of his attempts come from around the basket, where he's converting at like 75%. What are your thoughts on John Collins here at an elevated price point?
One of my favorite plays on the entire slate, because it's always really difficult to trust these Atlanta guys because the rotation has been so fluid this season. But Collins is one guy that for the most part has been safe from all of that stuff. We're seeing him approach 36 minutes in competitive games, getting around 32 minutes even in games that he loses a few minutes at the end of the fourth quarter. And then this is just an incredibly appealing spot against a Washington team that sucks defensively, does not rebound well. You also have Miles Plumlee and Omari Spellman out, which has led to some time at the center position for Collins, as well, with Alex Len barely being in the rotation. This isn't a matchup against Washington where I expect Len to have to play more minutes. Markieff Morris being the backup center for Washington lends itself more to Collins getting time there than Len. So really, really like Collins. He's been consistent as well in terms of his production. So less risky than some other guys. I really like him a lot, even though the price tag has come up.
Me too, quite a bit. I don't really even care that he's seeing an uptick in price because, as you mentioned, he's just been just far too consistent, and the minutes are there every night. Uh, he's been a stud. He's just been phenomenal. And, we'll talk about Dedmon right now, but this applies to both of them. Collins' rebounding has been incredible. Since the start of December, he's rebounding at 22%. I think he has 27% usage. Those are monster numbers, right? Like those are borderline elite numbers for a big. And this guy's playing a lot of minutes at the 4. And then you have Dwayne Dedmon coming off a 51 fantasy point game. His minutes, believe it or not, Adam, have been a lot more stable than you would initially think, right? He's played 30 plus in 4 of his last 6, played 28 in the other one, and then 22 in one. Of course, that game was against Washington. But I feel like Dedmon, even though his prices, and again, disclaimer, he's basically free on Yahoo where you should play him. But meaning if you're playing there, play Dwayne Dedmon for a free cost. But what are your thoughts on Dedmon here? Prices come up, but he's also seen a lot more consistency lately.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the increase in minutes, and there have even been kind of like we talked about with Collins. There have been a couple of games where Dedmon actually loses a few minutes because of blowout, and he still gets
Right.
30 plus. So I'm not as confident in his minutes as in Collins because Atlanta has every reason in the world to want Collins to get as much playing time as possible. For Dedmon, he doesn't have that working in his favor. But as of right now, they're clearly playing him a bunch of minutes. They don't seem to want to play Alex Len, so it lends itself to Dedmon being in a really good spot here for the same reasons that it's a good spot for John Collins. So I like Collins more, even factoring in price, but I like Dedmon quite a bit as well.
I don't know what his contract is. I wonder if this is a guy that they're trying to showcase for a potential trade.
Yeah, I have no idea what his contract is.
Because the minutes have gone up a whole lot recently. Alex Len gets the short end of the stick no matter who his coach
Yeah.
is. It's really outrageous. Um, but yeah, I definitely think that Dedmon. Oh, by the way, looking at it now, Dwayne Dedmon. I wanted to make sure this because I thought this was the case against Washington. Dwayne Dedmon saw his regular like short first rotation. He played 5 minutes, 12 seconds, and then he comes back in the second quarter at him for 3 minutes and 48 seconds, racks up 3 personal fouls, and doesn't play the rest of the second. So he came in he came into the game with about 9.5 minutes left in the second quarter. Only played 3 minutes and 48 seconds before racking up 3 fouls over that span, and didn't come back in until the second half started.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not like it was a matchup issue with Washington why he didn't play more.
Correct. That's what I'm. Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of important. So basically, had he played that through, he would have been on pace to play up around 30 minutes once again, which I like. All right, working our way to the wings and the backcourt here. Let's just go ahead and go from most interest to least interest. I guess. Well, you know what? I won't assume you have more interest anywhere than other, but I'm assuming we'll start with, as I assume, we'll start with guys like Trae Young and Bazemore here. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, after Collins and Dedmon, it definitely drops off for me, and it gets to just guys that I'm interested in tournaments because of their upside, but that I don't feel confident, aren't going to burn me. Trae Young, it's the same thing we've said every slate. He has the upside to go out there and have monster games. More often than not, he's not going to because he's just not that good. But it is a good matchup for him, and if he plays well, he does tend to get a few extra minutes. So could push like 32, 33 minutes. So I'll have some in tournaments, but I like Lonzo more. I like Jamal Murray more, where he's similarly priced. Bazemore, I'm a little bit more confident in the minutes. He at least adds something defensively, whereas Trae Young's an absolute liability. Bazemore can defend a bit and give the coaching staff a reason to keep him on the floor, even if he's not scoring a ton. So a little more interest in Bazemore. I feel a little bit better about him. And then you get into the cheap guys like Jeremy Lin. Probably plays 16 to 18 minutes because he's still not playing much, if at all, alongside Trae Young. But it's very similar to Ed Davis in that on a 4-game slate, Lynn's one of those guys at the top of the list where I want to make sure I run some lineups where I have him projected for a higher output than normal because he's the kind of guy that on a permanent basis is very, very good. And if Young gets benched in game or gets in foul trouble or anything like that, Lynn quickly becomes one of the better point per dollar tournament options. So I will be making sure I have some Jeremy Lin just because he's really cheap and he has a really high ceiling if he gets the minutes.
Yep. And sorry, did you mention that Dorsey's out?
No, but I had Daniel Hamilton eating like 10 minutes.
All right. Yeah, not sure if you thought that had any effect at all, but Dorsey was playing, 12 to 15 to 20 minutes depending on the game. So
Yeah, he
he's
didn't
out
play at
for
all against the Nets. Well, he got 2 minutes at the
3 minutes. Yeah,
end.
exactly. He didn't play a lot. All right. Anyone else on this team you want to get to before we talk Washington?
No, not really. I mean, Kevin Huerter should play around 30 minutes.
He stinks.
Yeah,
But yes, he should play around 30 minutes. And I guess like if you're playing 150 lineups, you're going to end up with some Kevin Huerter. Outside of that, if you're manually making lineups, I don't know how much you're going to have. But like you said, look, high scoring game, no question. He's playing 30 plus minutes. So I would honestly blame nobody for playing him. But I have no faith. Kurutz is once again starting for Alan Crabb. So that is confirmed. Rodions Kurucs is starting for Alan Crabb. All right. Washington, backcourt, John Wall, Brad Beal. John Wall coming off that 40 banger against the Lakers. He's now had 2 games with 66 plus fantasy points out of his last 3, 13 plus assists in 3 straight games in 4 of his last 5. Are we finally beginning to see John Wall turn a corner? Remember when Paul George had that 0 or 1 point game years ago, like 5 years ago, and it was with the Pacers, and it was like just rock bottom. Everyone's talking about it. Man, Paul George, what's happened? And then he just went on this vicious run for weeks where he just crushed it. Was the 1 point game 0 for 5 shooting game from John Wall against Cleveland? Maybe that was the catalyst to turn the corner?
Yeah, I mean, or maybe it really was just the bone spurs in his foot acting up, and now he's
horse shit. You're probably right, honestly.
But yeah, I mean, the one really good thing to see in that last game was he played 42 minutes and he lost minutes to a blowout against the Lakers. Like, obviously,
that is crazy.
Not projecting him that highly, but even if I get him to 38 minutes, he just comes in as a phenomenal play here in the spot.
Scott Brooks wants to kill his players. I'm pretty sure that he tried to murder Marcin Gortat for a straight year.
I mean, it's one way to you can't trade Wall's contract. You don't want to trade Beal. If you just run them both into the ground until one dies, you solve that issue.
If John Wall, if that game didn't blow out, John Wall would have played the entire second, the entire third, and the entire fourth. Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Like, he sat out for 3.5 minutes in the first, then he played the whole second, the whole third, and went straight into the fourth and played 9.5 minutes. Like, he played 21.5 straight minutes, and he would have played the whole second half.
And it's not like the game blew out in the fourth quarter. It was like a 25-point game when Scott Brooks decided to just leave him in for the start.
Dude, it was a 27-point game 5 minutes into the third quarter.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe they were resting Bradley Beal. They only let him play 39 minutes that game. So.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, like, all joking aside, it's just that's why the spot's so appealing. Obviously you have your up and down games from John Wall. The price tags come up, and normally I wouldn't want to pay it, but it's a 4-game slate with limited options. It's as good a matchup as you can get, and the minutes are just insane for both John Wall and Bradley Beal. And that really matters from a floor standpoint. It just makes it so it's so tough for them to go out there and really disappoint. Because if you think about it in terms of, points per minute, if John Wall plays 38 to 40 minutes, it's really unlikely he averages like less than a fantasy point per minute in this spot. He might, have a bad game where he averages less than, like the 1.3 or 1.4 that he should, but he's still probably going to get you 45, 50 fantasy points. Same goes for Bradley Beal. And, it just makes them really safe plays that obviously have monster ceilings because of how much they play too.
Yeah, I love them both. And I'm perfectly fine playing both of them in the same lineup, no question. We talked about it before the show. We're projecting Trevor Ariza for like 36 minutes, and I don't think it's crazy. I mean, look, this guy, they're not going to, first of all, Scott Brooks, has a death wish, but not for himself, for his players. And I don't see Trevor Ariza being any different. You mentioned to me, it's not like he hadn't been playing big minutes. Everywhere he goes, he plays huge minutes every night. He's starting today. I don't know. I would be very surprised because he's starting to see Trevor Ariza not jump into basically the same workload that he's seen with every other team he's played for over the past 5 years.
I agree, and it's not even like he's unfamiliar with the guys he's playing with. He's played with Porter or with Beal and Wall before. Obviously, like 4 years ago now, but it's not even like he has to like learn his new teammates or anything like that. I'd be very surprised if outside of injury, foul trouble, blowout, stuff like that, if he played less than 36 here. I'd be more surprised if he plays less than if he plays more.
Right, me too. What else do you have for Washington? We got to move on.
Yeah, not a ton. Jeff Green's price has come up. I guess so. One thing worth pointing out. I was interested in him anyway, and then now it just makes him a really interesting tournament pivot, assuming that a lot of ownership goes to Tyson Chandler. Thomas Bryant has been seeing his minutes trend up a bit more. In part because Keith gets in foul trouble, but also last game we saw Keith play alongside Thomas Bryant against the Lakers for the first time in a while. We hadn't really seen that happen all that often. Obviously they were shorthanded, but you could still, I think, potentially see Keith pick up a few minutes at the 4 and Bryant play 22 to 24 minutes, and he's just a better point per minute guy than Tyson Chandler is. So in this spot, if I get 22 minutes of Thomas Bryant compared to 28 minutes of Tyson Chandler, I think their projections are pretty similar, and I think you'll see a lot higher ownership on Chandler.
All right, sounds good. Let's get to the last game here. Before we do, I want to remind you, it's 24 days of giveaway at awesemo.com. And it's very simple. We want all of you guys to win because what you are winning is a free package of your choosing. Any sport you would like, we've got it to you. We're going to give it to, we're going to be giving it to pretty much, one person a day. One person a day. And hey, Josh, is the new one starting today?
I believe so.
I think it is.
Let me double check.
I didn't want to make any mistakes here.
Yeah, you're good with it.
All right, yeah. So we're giving away a pack. So what is it? I believe we're doing that. I don't want to make any mistakes here.
Month of all access right now.
Yeah, it's right. A month, all month, full month, all access. It was just end of NFL season for the first week. The second week was a sport of your choosing, and now it is monthly all access to everything we have behind paywall. All you got to do is click the thumbs up, like the video, and leave a comment below. And I figure we talked a lot about haircuts today, and I love this discussion, right? I got a haircut. Miles Turner's rocking the ponytail. You got all these bizarre haircuts. I want to know who has the worst haircut in the NBA. And that's what you comment down below, not in the chat. If you want to put it in the chat too, I'd love to see your answers, and we'll read off the funny ones and the accurate ones. But Adam, the worst one, it doesn't have to be current. For me, when Elfrid Payton, I hated the Evan Fournier little mini ponytail on the same team, but when Elfrid Payton had the mop hanging off the top of his head, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
And he would run, and it would flop up. Oh, it was unwatchable. That haircut on Elfrid Payton is the worst. Who do you got?
Fournier's actually made me more upset than Payton's did. Like Fournier, I just wanted to like
rip it off. Yeah, just rip him straight from his head.
Yeah, but I mean, Payton is the one that immediately came to my mind too.
Yeah, absolutely. All you got to do is like the video and comment. Worst haircut in the NBA. Excited to see your answers. We're going to select someone every single day, and you can enter as many times as you want on every video. Every video equals a new entry for you. And at the end, on Christmas Eve, the grand prize, we're giving away an all-access annual full calendar year membership, $700 value to one randomly selected winner. So good luck to all of you. It's our gift from us to you at awesemo.com. Happy holidays. Worst haircut in the NBA for me, clearly Elfrid Payton. I'll give you Fournier though. Both of them were on the same team. It was a dreadful thing.
Jonathan Isaac had the same haircut as Payton too.
He did. I don't know what Turner's had some bad ones too. Actually, the ponytail is one of the least offensive haircuts he's had. Anyway, Andre Kirilenko was always a good one. Okay, last game. We don't really need much time on this because it's not that exciting. Denver and Dallas. Denver right now favored by 4.5, 207.5 total. Give me your rundown here. Dennis Smith Jr. is out, so Doncic is a nice cash play. I don't know how much tournament upside he has. And DeAndre Jordan is cheap, so I get that. And then, of course, Jokic is very good. So go ahead and run this down for me. Obviously, Hernan Gomez news is still pending as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Doncic and Barnes, like you said, both really good cash plays here. Especially Barnes on FanDuel in particular. You have to roster 2 small forwards, and it sucks. No Trevor Ariza makes it even tougher. So, but neither one are guys that I'm really that interested in tournaments, just because the upside normally isn't really there for them. There's guys priced around Doncic that I think have higher ceilings. Harrison Barnes is fine if I get some, but it's not a priority. JJ Barea is someone that I want to make sure I have tournament exposure to. I expect Brunson to get the bulk of the minutes at point guard, but Brunson's price tag has gotten too close to Barea's. And if I project Brunson for like 26 to 28 minutes and Barea for 20 to 22, I still get Barea outscoring Brunson. So I would rather just play him off the bench and, hope that he runs into a couple extra minutes and I get a good game out of him. But, it's still clearly not a priority. So, nothing from the Dallas side that's a priority for me.
Yeah, me neither. And another disclaimer, Mason Plumlee is minimum salary on Yahoo. It's so wild. It's just too much. Dude, we got some good answer here. JaVale McGee, Rat Tail, De'Aaron Fox, a few boozers, a bunch of Lins, a bunch of Jeremy Lins, LeBron hairline from Brandon Smith. That doesn't count, but that's good. You guys got to put these down in the comment section too. And obviously hit the thumbs up. I want you to win on some of these good answers. Kelly Olin, I'm not going to read that one out loud, but it's funny. Oh, man. Adam Morrison, Nene, Manu Ginobili, that's from our boy Emac. Boozer painted hair. Rolo looks like a sideshow. Rodman. Gordon Hayward's old mushroom bowl cut. That's a good one, Brian. That is a good one. Oh, man. These are good. Rolo looks like a sideshow. Did you see him almost getting – dude, he was coming at Jeremy Grant when Chris Dunn went and put his hands to Westbrook and shoved him. And Steven Adams, looking like a samurai from I don't know what century, just like a warlock, comes in and just simply grabs Robin Lopez by the arm. And Robin Lopez very quickly is subdued. He's like, all right, I would not want to fight. You know what? The question on the next show is, who would you not want to get into a street brawl with in the NBA? Steven Adams is on close to the top of my list.
Steven Adams and Yusuf Nurkic's dad have to be at the top.
Oh, dude, Yusuf Nurkic's dad would put you in. If you woke up in the hospital, you'd be thanking God. Put it that way. Anyway, we appreciate you guys as always. We hope you have a great night. Good luck. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Much larger slates. The Deeper Dive. Adam Shaw, Dave Lochran. Live before Lock Show. Those boys going to bring you up till 7 p.m. Good luck tonight.